This is a really interesting story. Loir Leser is a tech lawyer, and he's preparing to file a complaint against PayPal and Patreon for colluding to shut down a competitor. He is also the host of the YouTube channel YouTuber Law, and you can find his videos there. Loir, thank you for coming on. It's good to see you.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm honored.
So explain what has happened. It's happened really at Patreon that got you so excited about this. What is happening that people may not know about?
Right. So we've seen for at least the last year and a half, a lot of different people getting deplatformed, removed from various platforms. And I've discussed the topic many times. And as far as the law is concerned, lots of company acting similarly is evidence, but not sufficient to really prove any sort of illegality, any sort of collusion, any sort of illegal behavior. What happened here that was different is you have the deplatforming of Sargon of Akkad, and then
he was taking
a lot
Patreon.
of attention.
Is that right?
By Patreon.
Yeah.
Sorry. By Patreon, deplatforming him, basically canceling him, I believe, without any notification of any sort. Anyway, then the result was, because there was a lot of pushback from the audience about it, a lot of emphasis, a lot of PR, kind of free PR, was placed on an unknown competitor. I never heard of it. Most people never heard of it, called Subscribestar, a company that was just started maybe a year before that, that had the facility to be a competitor to Patreon. Suddenly they were in the news because it provided an alternative platform for Sargon, but potentially other people that were upset with Patreon. Within days, PayPal then moves to shut down all credit card processing at Subscribestar, and a day later, Stripe as well.
Wow, really? So wait,
Yeah.
just so I'm sure I've got this right. They took off a conservative, Sargon of Akkad. They took him off Patreon. He went and got to another platform, and so PayPal, which is not connected to Patreon,
Nope.
They cut them off. They cut off the other subscriber.
Exactly. So to me, that was a telltale, because the way the law looks at it, and a lot of people see things that are parallel and see there has to be a connection. The law doesn't see it that way. It asks in an antitrust case, they look for what's called a plus factor. Think of it as something that would connect otherwise parallel lines. And the law usually looks at it and says, will a company do something that doesn't otherwise make any sense? It's against its best interests. It just doesn't really make any sense for it to do. It's not something that it would otherwise do. And in this case, a move against Subscribestar by a company called PayPal, when Subscribestar is brand new, never really hosted any substantial number of creators or of audience. So it didn't have any sort of expressive profile. You couldn't say it's the home for the right or the home for the left or home for the extremist, or it didn't really do much to be. There's the argument that you could say that maybe Gab in the past, that was also killed off by PayPal when they removed their payment processing, that maybe Gab, because it was on for longer, had some expressive content because it already allowed people on. Subscribestar was brand new. So why
were other people? I mean, Dave Rubin, right, was leaving Patreon in protest. Was that not true?
Yes, well, a number of big names were complaining about it. At that point, he didn't. At that point, he announced, obviously, his displeasure. Peterson, I believe, as well. They didn't leave until, I believe, just maybe a week ago or so. Sam Harris, probably the biggest name to have made the move almost immediately, and more people were expressing their displeasure. It just happened that this tiny company that really was growing at best, organically, didn't really have much in terms of growth, suddenly was just the beneficiary of attention, and PayPal moves. And in this world where PayPal controls about 65% of the worldwide processing of transaction, in the United States more like 73. If you put together with Stripe together, they control some 85% of all transaction. It's a move that can be devastating. Companies can be killed very easily if you don't have PayPal effectively, or Stripe, because we all been to websites. We see enter your credit card or pay by PayPal. We trust PayPal.
Mm-hmm.
I have nothing against the service itself. there's a certain level of trust. So people, companies, small businesses, it's not really unique to this. Small businesses, they can't get their hands on a PayPal account are a real disadvantage.
So PayPal is essentially saying, we don't want to support patriots who support the Constitution. They're saying they don't want to support conservatives. Don't they have a right to say that?
They absolutely have the right to say it. Every company, look, 200 years worth of legal history gave companies equal rights of free speech to individuals. I can understand how it developed historically, and I can understand what they say. I don't have to agree that the resultant logic makes too much sense, because it's still an artificial entity that has the same rights as individuals, and it's not tied to the owners, to the operators, to the shareholders. It's pure rights of an artificial entity, but nonetheless, absolutely. Companies have a right to free speech. They're allowed to associate or disassociate with anybody they want to. What is not permitted is collusion that then hurts the marketplace. Whether or not it's monopolies acting to undermine the marketplace because they are in possession of certain essential facilities that other companies rely on, or when companies collude together to keep out competitors. And when I saw that, to me, a PayPal move against Subscribestar makes zero sense. It's a client, so arguably it makes them money. It has no expressive value because it's brand new. You couldn't say, you know what, it's our expressive right to disassociate with them. Well, disassociate with what exactly? At least make a statement. What is it that's so reprehensible, a brand new company that otherwise really never engaged in anything? To me, that creates a triangle, what's called a group boycott. Two companies that together possess market power. We're talking PayPal and Patreon. You can add Stripe to it if you want to. Moving to exclude a competitor, which is Subscribestar. That's illegal. It's called a group boycott.
And is when Dave Rubin and Jordan Peterson and Sam Harris, when they left Patreon in protest, did they also go to Subscribestar?
Everybody talked about it, but everybody truthfully was cautionary. We've been bitten before, in the sense that about a year, maybe a year and a half after another individual, another YouTuber was kicked off and moved to an alternative payment platform called Maker Support. A lot of people encouraged people to go there, and very quickly that was shut down. Now, it wasn't understood at the time, why was it shut down? Why did PayPal remove payment facilities from that company? So people don't want to jump so quickly, because when you start moving your supporters around from place to place and it gets shut down, you tend to lose support as they get lost in the shuffle. So nobody moved quickly. Obviously, I think that Sargon moved to that platform. The platform saw a large intake from individuals supporting him, but it really was the PR, a lot of attention, a competitor. If that would have continued, that's a viable competitor to PayPal.
It's funny here, though. Essentially what we're seeing...
to Patreon. It's a competitor to Patreon.
But essentially what we're seeing is, I don't want to call it a conspiracy, but a movement by powerful corporations to shut down the speech of conservatives. But that would be legal, essentially. You're making a different argument. You're making the argument that they can shut down the free speech of conservatives, but they can't collude to destroy a competitor.
Exactly. There's a couple of things. People always complain, why am I focusing on a small problem when the problem is really much bigger? And I hear you. But the reality is, if today you ask me, are you allowed legally to discriminate against people based on their political expression? The answer is yes. The law does not forbid it. Now, it's up to each company to determine where they want to go and what they want to do with that power. But discrimination is not forbidden against political association and political expression. There are ways, if people are inclined to fix that from a federal level. But what's going on here is more, what I'm focusing on is, well, at least let people have alternative. If you don't want them to speak on Google, on YouTube, on Facebook, on whatever platform, because those are the company's own specific intent and this is what they would like, that's one thing. You can deal with it in another context. But a concerted move against potential platforms, whether or not it's social platforms that get shut down, money-making platforms like Subscribestar that get shut down. You get remove their domain name, you remove their server hosting. That's something different. That's something the law can handle and does every single day. The Federal Trade Commission deals with those items all the time, and that's why when I saw that, I said, okay, it's a small solution to a far bigger problem, but maybe we can prevent there be concerted effort against potential alternatives.
Yeah, no, it's like putting Al Capone away for tax evasion. I like it.
Exactly.
Loir Leser, a tech lawyer, really interesting. He is the host of the YouTube channel, YouTuber Law, and you can find his videos there. Loir, thank you very much for explaining that. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I actually think, I've said this before, as Jeremy Boring, the God King of the Daily Wire, has explained that some of these platforms are abusing their brief, which is to act as publishers, which is to act as platforms, and they're acting as publishers, which means you can sue them. But in this case, too, I really do believe, since our right to speak comes not from government, but from God, and the only thing that what the Constitution, the Bill of Rights is saying is the government hasn't got the right to interfere with those rights. I do not understand why companies this powerful, if PayPal has 70% of the market online and you can't run a service without it, I'm not sure why they should be allowed to shut down free speech. They're not supporting the opinions of Sargon or Dave or any of that. They are basically just allowing a site to exist, which allows them a place to go. This Subscribestar is not saying, oh, we're conservative. They're saying we believe that everybody has a right to raise money on a system without being cut off for their speech rights. We really have to rethink this, I think, because these companies, Google, Facebook, PayPal, they're so powerful that essentially they're getting in the way of rights which government is forbidden to interfere with. And I'm not sure that corporations that powerful. Remember, corporations do become power centers. The left was always right about this. Corporations become power centers that can only be controlled by government. I'm not sure why corporations this powerful should have the right to shut down speech like what they're essentially doing. It really is dreadful. It is dreadful considering some of the people involved. Guys like Dave and Jordan and Sam Harris are certainly no danger to the United States. In fact, I think they're a great asset to it. All right, I got to say goodbye.